Okay, so I really liked what my grandma did with the bulletin because she put a bunch of flowers in as the pictures. And the other thing that she did is she also put a picture of the Bible. I didn't tell her anything, but that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today. Today we heard one of the most famous parables. Before this week, I'd gotten pretty sick and tired of it. I was always like, yeah, the parable of the sower. Oh yeah, of course, that one. I don't like it at all. I remember at EYE, I got really tired of hearing it every day. It was like, oh yeah, the guy went out to sow the seed, and blah, 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 blah. And that's what I thought about it. But then, this week, with how the lectionary arranged the readings, it was also kind of confusing because it put the story of of Jacob and Esau. And that really, I was like, how does that match at all with the parable? And then you had the psalm, which is also pretty popular because we use that as our theme song for 1 year as well. Your word is a lamp to my feet. And then the Romans reading kind of helps as well. I wanted to work through the parable backwards though. We have 4 different pictures, and I drew pictures too. I put a picture of like a bird with the seed, and then I did a picture of like the sun burning the stuff, and then I drew a bunch of thorns, and so it looks like a big black square. And then I also drew this pretty flower, well, as pretty as I can make it. And so we have the 4 pictures. There's you have the seeds, and you know that a lot of people, when you plant seeds, like today we have these grass seed machines where it's like a big hose and you just start spraying it everywhere, and it doesn't really matter where it falls. Obviously, if it falls on 59, it's not going to grow. You have a bunch of cars just running over them, or different things, or the birds. Yesterday I did notice that there were some pigeons on 59. I was like, what are they doing there? But they get the seeds off of there too. And then the next one, which we're really common with, especially right now because of the drought, is you have the seeds that fall on like good, kind of okay soil, but then when they grow, the sun scorches them because they don't have enough root, and so they just start dying and they turn brown. You know, like all the grass that we have now, because it hasn't rained that much. It's starting to get better though. It's been raining pretty constantly now. And then the next picture is of a plant growing among the thorn bush. We don't really have that many thorn bushes. We have roses, but we don't really have any thorn kinds of weeds or anything like that. But in Israel, there are lots of different bushes that have many thorns, and they kill different kinds of plants. So it's like you have this tulip growing, and then all of a sudden you have like, I guess, an evil rose growing around it and then like chokes it or stuff. So you have that picture, and then you have finally the picture is, I would say that's probably like what you probably do if you garden at all, like in your backyard. You know, you go out back, you dig a hole, you get the good soil, you put the seed in it, and then you make sure it's like 2 inches from the bottom. Make sure you water it with like 1 gallon of water for the next week, and then the week after you water it even more and stuff like that. And you carefully measure that. I think that there are those details that we sort of have left out in this parable because I think that people did understand more or less what Jesus was talking about. So when he said that the seed fell along the good soil and it grew well, you also had like the man went to water it, or you know, the rain. It was in the good season, you know, like in spring when it rains really well and stuff, and then it grew. There was the right sunshine. It wasn't that year where the clouds covered the sun for like every day. It was a good year and a good time. So I want to work through this backwards because I think that we have sort of a message going on that's a little bit easier to understand with the good plant, that's harder to understand with the seed that gets taken away by the evil one, as Jesus calls it later on. So first we have to learn that, think of ourselves as a soil. And you know, with soil, you have to like go with tools. You have to like you have to go with a hoe, and you have to like pick it up and stuff like that. You have to make it airy, and you have to aerate it. I think that's what it's called, something like that. And then you have to make sure you get enough oxygen into it, and it's not too rough. That's another thing that a lot of seed packages say: is do not pat the mud on it, because then it'll just be a hard rock. So what can we do for our bodies so that we can receive or be a good like receptacle or a good pot for the word, for the message? I say that we have two things. I tried to say three, but I forgot what the third one was, and it still hasn't come to mind yet. But anyways, there's prayer, which I'll be able to explain a little bit more. Prayer and the knowledge of the Bible, reading the Bible, and I guess also surrounding yourself with a community of people. That's the third one. So if I just told you that, I mean, like those are the easy instructions on how to do it, but of course we don't like the easy one. We always like to make it difficult, and that's where number 3 comes in, our thorn bush picture. Our thorn bushes, we make our own thorn bushes. You know, sometimes we prepare ourselves as good soil, but then we prepare the area around us as good soil as well, and we let the spores, you know, because weeds don't just, they need good soil too. It's not like they just grow out of nowhere, although they seem like they do. They have spores and stuff like that traveling everywhere. You know, they look pretty. The dandelions are pretty, and you blow them, and then the seeds go everywhere. Those are weeds. Those are weeds. They look pretty at first, and then they start growing, and then all your plants start dying and everything like that. That's, you know, that comes from the pretty little yellow flower and stuff like that. It dies, and it gets those little seeds. You blow it, you make a wish, and you end up destroying everything. So that's sort of like what our thorn bushes are. We prepare ourselves to receive all these thorn bushes, and I think that one thing that we do with our that we allow different things to be our thorn bushes. We go to school, but then we start going like, well, I need to take 25 hours this semester, and I need to make sure that I do everything so I can graduate in 2 years instead of in 5, and you know, things like that. And we go like, oh yeah, the Bible can come later, you know, just like the verse says Jesus is the same as yesterday and today and tomorrow. So I'm pretty sure the Bible will be there if I just leave it alone. Well, we can't do that. I mean, like, for one thing, we don't know when Jesus is coming, and then what if it's like at that time that you're like, oh, who are you? And he comes knocking at the door at 4 o'clock in the morning, and you go like, what are you doing here? And you just shun him away. So sometimes we let the school, we let our work get in our way. You know, sometimes we go like, well, I'll work every day, and no break. I'll work every day from 9 to 11, from 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. every single day, and not take a single day off. And you know, the only break that I will have is to sleep at home. And then, you know, this is the kind of work too where it's like you have to do something all the time, and you can't like pick up the Bible, or you can't look at your phone to look at the verse of the day or something like that. Jesus even brings up, because one of Jesus' main topics of discussion is money. He kept on teaching about the deceit of money, and he mentions that one of the thorn bushes as well is the deceit of money. Sometimes we say that, and like we do know that money is a blessing. It is a good thing to have, but at the same time, we let it take over us. We let it become our idol. We turn away from God and from Jesus, and we just start going like, you know, some things like even our Bibles, we start going like, well, mine is black and it's okay, but then some people want to get the pretty ones with the little pearls on it and the ribbons, and then the scans of the old King James with the original flower text and stuff like that, and then we want to make sure that it was written, it had notes by J.S. Bach and by Martin Luther and by Joel Osteen. I don't know who. We want to make sure that it has like the stamp of approval from all the main churches, like from Iglesia Episcopal San Mateo. We want to make sure that it has a good Escafé sign on it too, and just make sure that it's approved. But then we sort of lose the meaning of what our Bible is. So that's sort of a thorn bush as well. We go like, oh yeah, I have the message, it's right here. And then you look at it and you go like, well, that's a nice Bible. I liked what, I forget who posted it up on their Facebook status, but apparently it was from KSBJ where they said, a Bible falling apart does not belongs to somebody who's not falling apart. Was it you, Jade? Okay. I forget who posts these things. I don't like to call it my own though. But I like that because that's true. I mean, like you have to use it. Probably the best example is my grandma's Bible. I wish I could have brought it in. She's probably using it right now. Ruth knows exactly what I'm talking about. You know, it's like it's even out of order now because the binding is messed up, and like you have the book of John and like half of the book of Acts, and then you have like the book of Genesis right afterwards, and then you have one page from one of the apocryphal books and stuff like that. And it's just all falling apart. But she uses it all the time, and that's what she uses for all of her copies and for her bulletins and stuff like that. So another thing that we get caught up in is like laws. We start going like, oh well, you know, like the government says that I need to pay taxes at this time and this time and this time and stuff like that, and there's no exception. Or we'll say that, oh yeah, this guy won't let me go through or stuff like that. We have to remember the people who are enforcing the laws are human. And we know as humans we always have feelings for each other. I mean, like look at what Jesus and God did. I mean, like they're God. That's not human, but it's God. He forgives people. So why can't humans forgive others too? Even our Constitution, no, our Declaration of Independence says that if ever we have a destructive government, we have the right to abolish it. And that was because they were, I believe that our founding fathers were men of God, because they were Christians, and they founded this country with, even though they said we don't want the church to rule it, they still founded it on principles of Christianity. And we need to understand that, and we need to respect that as well. That we do have the power to bring God into our lives and to keep God in our lives. So that's how we need to get rid of the thorn bushes. Probably one of the best ways of getting rid of thorn bushes is by praying. You know, when you pray, that means that you leave something to God. You leave your hardships to God, and you just give it up to Him. The story of Esau, when he gave his birthright over to Jacob, he could have prayed. He could have said, you know, even Jesus, when he was out in the desert for 40 days, after the long time, because they say that humans can't live for 40 days without food. Like after 40 days you die, because your body just can't handle it anymore. He said that after those 40 days, though, that angels came and took care of him. So we need to learn to leave our things to God. If Esau he probably wouldn't have lost his birthright. And I don't really want to bring that too much into that discussion, because then it would be like the whole change of the course of history and stuff like that. But anyways, that's sort of how I looked at the story in order to apply it to today. Next, we have our picture of the sun that burns the plant because it doesn't have enough water, or it's not deep enough. I'm really familiar with planting like cactus plants and succulents. And what they always need, it always says that you're not supposed to plant them necessarily in really deep, but they need a really wide range. But I think that you know, different people need different things, and we have different needs. But we have to. The other thing I wanted to talk about was that a quick mention is that the seeds are also our blessings. We need to be careful not to just let everything take away our blessing, which will come later on when I talk about the birds. So we have our shallow understanding. That's what makes our soil like too shallow for the plant to take root. I remember what I like to do a lot, because I learned it in school, was that we would take a lima bean and you put it, you get like, you get a, what was it? You get like a paper towel, you dip it in water and stuff like that, and then you put the lima bean in a Ziploc bag. My mom knows because I did it a lot at home. You put it in the bag, and then after a while, it'll spread a root, and then it'll start growing and stuff like that. And then mold starts coming in if you don't transplant it. Then mold starts coming in, and it dies, and it turns brown, and then it smells, and it looks ugly and stuff like that. So we need to be able to. I don't think that it's right for us to necessarily just dive into the Bible, necessarily like go all the way and try to read the interpretations of the old rabbis from the centuries before Jesus, or learn or read like all the different texts of the ancient church. But I do think that we need to always walk with God and to keep on progressing and to always just go deeper and deeper, so that way we can keep on providing for the plant for the seed that's planted in us. Because that's another thing that we need to do sometimes with our plants. You know, you put say you grow a tree, you put a small seed in like a really small cup like this, and then you notice it grows, and then it grows into this little seedling. After that, what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to put it into a little bit of a bigger plant, a bigger pot. They say that if you put it in the ground, though, it'll like shock it and it'll die. You put it into a little bigger one, and then the roots grow even more, and then it starts growing a little bit thicker, and it becomes a sapling. And then you put it in the ground, and you make sure you protect it, though, from like all the bugs and stuff like that. And then it grows into like a little tree, like about this tall. And then you take it out, and then you can put it out like into the real world, I guess, for lack of a better term. So that's what we, you know, sometimes I say that I'm very blessed to be in this church, because we have a very understanding, a very accepting community. We accept different people for who they are, and we accept different theologies, different mindsets, and different understandings of the Bible, and we still all call ourselves Episcopalians, or under San Mateo. And it's really nice, because there are some churches where, yeah, they say you're only allowed to read the Bible in Old Church Slavonic, which is a dead language, and worse than that, it's not even common. Or, you know, the Catholic Church, the Roman Catholic Church, ever since like up until like the 80s, they used to only have Mass in Latin, which if you have an okay knowledge of Spanish, you cannot really get by with it. You sort of need to learn the language. Other churches, they have the whole like everything that they do on the altar, they have a big curtain that they cover, and they do everything behind the curtain. And like after an hour of like the preparation and stuff like that, you're just sitting there. They open up the curtains, and then something happens. But I like that we have our church where we can see everything that goes on, and we can ask questions. We have resources, though, in order to deepen our understanding. You know, we have the Christian bookstores. Even in the Bible, what the people did was that they gave us our Gospels. But even then, even though Jesus was a man, he came down as a man. That's something that maybe we can grasp a little bit easier than just go like, oh yeah, God, and he's, you can't feel it, you can't grasp it, you can't get it, but he's there. You know, he comes down as a man. And then even after that, he preaches to the disciples. And then the disciples, they start writing their own texts. And we have that in our Bible. We have our letters and stuff like that written by humans so that we can understand. And nowadays we have many Christian authors who are very inspired by the Word, and they'll just start writing. And we have all these Christian bookstores, and even then, they come into regular bookstores too. Like I walk into any Barnes and Noble or Borders, and they have the Christian section. Or even at Walmart, they have a Christian book section, and they have the Cristiano section as well. So we have our resources. You know, we have our priest here he's always available to talk. We have our youth group, our youth leaders. We're here to talk as well. You know, we have if you look at our calendars, you know, on the back of our bulletins, it shows the calendars of the week. if you didn't notice. And it shows like all the events that we always have. And it just helps us to understand the Bible even more, so that way we can receive the message and nurture it and give it more root. The final thing that we have is, I think is the most difficult one to talk about, which is you have the seeds planted along the path, and then the birds come and they take away the seeds. I don't know if you've ever seen pictures of like desert scapes though. It's like almost all sand, but then there's like one cactus, or there's one little flower. Even like on the highways, every once in a while you will see that the plants do split the concrete and they'll start growing up through there. I'm not saying that it's for everybody, but sometimes we can be the one. We can take root. The way that we do this though is by just how I've been saying. We need to pray, so that way we can make sure that we can have protection from the evil one, from the one who's going to steal everything from us. And then we need to receive the message. We need to read the Bible, because just like it says, Jesus doesn't change. Jesus is the same as he was in the time of the very beginning of the creation, the same ever since when he was born, the same in the 1100s when people started persecuting each other, the same when Muhammad was born, the same when people believed that Buddha was the one. He was the same when in the 1500s people started going like, well, we should start not teaching the Bible anymore. He was the same in the 1920s when we started thinking that we just destroyed the whole earth. He's the same now when we're having so many different problems. And he is going to be the same. He's going to come back the same way that he was. He's going to come back. The last thing about this, though, is that Jesus doesn't just say that it grew plants. He doesn't, because that's like if you look at a flower, you just look at it for the most part, unless it's a honeysuckle, and then you can like pull the flower and you can suck it for a little bit, and then it's dead forever. And yeah, flowers do produce seeds and stuff like that, but it's not. Unless you're talking about like jasmine, like for tea or stuff like that, you really don't have that much of a purpose for it. It's just to look at. But Jesus says that it's a crop, that it bears fruit, and then it bears it. I forgot exactly how much he says. What was it, like 60, 100, and 120 times as much? Something like that. 60, how much? 60 and 30 times the amount that was given. And so what we need to do is that when we receive the message and we understand it and we start bearing fruit, we need to start giving it to other people. So that way we can be the one. We can be one of those planters. Because even you look at farmers and stuff like that, they have all the tools, all the machines, they have all the farm hands and stuff like that. But you can't battle with God. You can't. One day, like just look at this right now, like our weather right now. We've had a very bad drought, and now we're starting to get rain. We don't have control over the weather. I know that we're trying to do that, but we don't have control over the weather. So just in the same way, we need to learn so that we can be one of those farm hands, just so that we can make sure that we can help as much as we can the others who are maybe have the shallowness, or maybe they're the ones in the middle of the path of nowhere. Maybe they're the ones that have many thorn bushes around them, that we can get our gloves on and take out the thorn bushes, or that way we can come out with our watering pails and water the seeds for people. So just remember, we have a blessing. We have blessings that are waiting for us. We need to receive them, and we need to receive them and nurture them with prayer, so that way we can be protected, and with knowledge of the Bible, so that way we can provide more soil. Amen.